Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is the artist Scott and I'm teaching you how to draw, and I'm using comic books as the medium because believe me, if you draw comics you're going to learn how to draw because there's a lot of drawing involved in that. Now there's other arts and crafts involved too other than just drawing comics, so it kind of mixes things up a little bit, so it's not just one thing. But what I do is I do hour-long segments that I break up into 15-minute increments, and then I post the 15-minute increments daily, hopefully. Anyway, this is the freshman class, so you don't need to know anything prior. But this is day 4, and it's part 3. So go through my channel, start at the beginning, and work your way through, because everything builds upon everything else. Now, when I ended part 2, what I was doing was I was making showing you how to make, because of the purposes of the video, I was making a short mini comic, and what I was doing was I was showing you how to make the comic book longer. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and start over just for the sake of it, in case what I was doing didn't make sense, because I'm not sure it did make sense. I was going pretty fast. Anyway, go ahead and grab 2 sheets of paper and make this the front cover. Okay? And then, because that's the front cover, this is going to be the back cover. And take the page and flip it around like this, and this would be page 6 and this would be page 7. Okay? There's a reason I'm doing it that way, so just bear with me. Okay? Then I'm going to flip the comic book over again. This is going to be 8. This is going to be 5. Right? Then I'm going to turn it this way. And this is, and I hope I'm not confusing you too much. This is the inside front. And this is the inside back cover. Okay, then we're going to go to a second page. Okay, and we're going to write a 12 here, we're going to write a 1 here, right? We're going to flip this around, and this is going to be page 4, and this is going to be page 9. Then what we're going to do is we're going to flip the pages over, and we've got page 10 here, page 3 here, and then we're going to turn it this way, and we're going to have page 2 here and page 11 here. Now, what's going to happen at this point is you take the front cover and you take the 1 and you put them like this, right? Now, this is your guideline for how you're going to draw the book. And what's going to happen is you flip it up like this, and then you end up folding it over like this. And then later on we're going to cut here, and when you draw it, it'll be page 1, right? Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, inside back cover, and then back cover. Now this is just your guidelines. If you remember, when we did the previous, what we did was we had our guidelines, right, and we just kept them there while we worked off of this, which is our layouts. Okay, so now that I showed you that, there's something else that I wanted to go through. Okay, and I'm going to grab my pen and pad to work on this for a second. And what it is this name Super Sensor bothered me, and currently I came up with the name when I was like 9 years old. And the character was kind of a daredevil character, where his senses were enhanced, except he could see, and he didn't have like Superman's eyes. Like he didn't have X-ray vision, but he did have great eyesight. So you can call it telescopic vision and microscopic vision. So in other words, he could see things really small that the rest of us can't, and he could see things far away that the rest of us can't. And then he could see. I guess I'm gonna have him see into different spectrums like infrared and different things like that. I haven't worked everything out yet, but that's the reason why he's called Super Sensor. And that was back in the day, and I didn't really do anything with the character back then. What I was doing was I was writing and drawing a bunch of comic books, and here's an example of what they look like. I didn't keep any of the Super Sensor pages, right? But this is issue number 2 of Kid Kung Fu, right? And what I would do is I would interrupt the comic to show an ad for a future comic that was coming. And in this case, this is a future battle with Joe and Kid Kung Fu. So Kid Kung Fu was going to fight a character I had called Joe. Well, I drew Super Sensor, but I never really did anything with the character. That was about as far as I got, was that one-page advertisement. So later on in life, I kind of tossed all the pages I had for that because I thought he was too much of a copy. Anyway, I'm bringing him back, and I'm taking a character called Black Lightning, and I'm kind of using his background, and I'm mushing a couple of things together, and I'm doing it just for this YouTube channel. But I'm going to work on his name, which I guess I wasn't happy with when I was a kid. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run down a couple of names. He's dark, right? His costume is all black. So I was thinking along the lines of Shadow Knight. The Shadow Knight, I think, is a little bit too easy. And it's probably already taken. So I can I could do something like along the lines of, you know how you have people that are first responders, and they're called EMTs, which is emergency medical technicians. So I can do Shadow Knight Brother, and what I'll do is I'll name it instead. It'll be called as SKB instead. Just a thought that's out there. I'm also thinking along the lines of Shadow Justice Brother, SJB. Then I have I'm thinking Shadow because he's all dark, right? His costume is all black, so he can blend in shadows really well. Whoops, Shadow Dust Up. And the dust up is just a fight. That's all it is. So I don't know if I want to call him Shadow Fight. I mean, you can, but who knows? Let me just keep going. Then we've got, let me see, I like a knight. I like the fact that somebody would be a knight. How about Night Smoke? Or I can even go Night Smoke Brother. And instead he would be known as KSB instead. This is me. What I'm doing is I'm trying to come up with a name, and I'm just writing some things out there. How about Twilight? Twilight, is when it's dark, and he's a Twilight Knight, or it's getting dark. He's a Twilight Knight, and maybe Twilight Knight Brother. I may not use brother at all. Who knows? All right. And I'm kind of liking the shadow and the dark and the night. How about Midnight? Except I'll change the name. I'll change the spelling. I'll put a hyphen in it, and I'll change the name to Midnight. And I could also go Midnight Shadow. Or MKS. Now I'm kind of liking these two. Probably the best among the bunch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sleep on that for a little bit and put that aside for now. And something else I wanted to work on is in my story. I have a guy who I'm calling him. The placeholder name is Adam. And I chose Adam because Adam is the first man, I was calling him I was kind of calling him Superman, but I don't want to rip off Superman. I'm just thinking along the lines of the first hero. And our very first superhero was Superman. And he's strong, he flies, he's got powers like that. He's hard to kill. So I'm thinking along those lines. And I kind of want to start designing him. I may not have time to get into that now. So let me see if I could kind of come up with some names. Now, he is Superman, right? And I want to come up with something kind of simple. There's a Mighty Man, which is most likely taken. As a matter of fact, I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch a cartoon called Mighty Man and Yuck, where the dog was so ugly he wore a doghouse over his head, and he would just lift the doghouse up, and the crooks would go, ah, and they would collapse because he was that ugly. And they never showed you what he looked like. It was a cartoon. It was all made in good fun. But his name was Mighty Man. I'm sure somebody else took names like that too. There's Mr. Mighty. Again, I want to try to keep this simple. There's a couple of others. How about Super Justice? Mr. Justice? Captain Justice? There's a couple of names I'm liking. I'm kind of liking Super Justice. Although it is kind of weird. But I'll have to think on it a little bit more. These are most likely, these others are all taken. Mr. Justice, Captain Justice, Mr. Mighty, Captain Super. Again, I want to try to keep it simple, and since I'm not actually making a comic book about him, I don't really want to focus that much on him. I want him to appear real to people, but at the same time, I want to make it like something that's very simple from back in the day. And quite honestly, all of the good names were taken. So it's hard to come up with a really good name. Justice Man. That's kind of silly. Something along those lines. Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. He's also mighty. Captain Mighty. Captain Might. So I'm gonna sleep on it with these names. I may do some more brainstorming to come up with better names, but again, I want to keep moving with this channel. I don't want to get bogged down with too many things. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to go ahead and end the channel here, and then I'll pick up tomorrow where I'm going to work more on this character here, on what he looks like. So I'll just kind of draw him out for you guys. Okay. So again, this is I wanted to go ahead and end this. At this point, I mean, it's not the full 15 minutes, but I know if I start getting into the next one, I'll have to cut off. I don't have a lot of time to work from there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off a little bit early. And I hope you don't get too upset over that. Anyway, tune in next time, and you'll get to see the rest of this where I finish up the creating and writing part of this book. Okay? Thank you very much.